I see her on the
see her.
screen.
Is she trying to talk?
Ms. Ballard, do you approve the agenda?
Do you approve the agenda?
She can't hear
I
us.
can't hear anything.
Sorry.
So hearing.
Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yes. We answer, but she can't, she hear us. We have to go in front of the screen go.
All right, how's that? Amber, can you hear me? Amber, can you hear me?
Should we just go to the-
Hey Siri, text Randall. Audio not working for Amber. Can you fix it?
We have a little bit of technical difficulty in the middle of our agenda vote. Apologize for that.
Oh, I could ask her. What was the question?
Does she approve of the agenda?
Approve of the agenda.
Oh, cool.
Good thinking.
Should we just call him?
Yeah, I can. Maybe, yeah. Well, will she get feedback? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yes, you can talk.
Oh, I could do the same thing and just put it on mute.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I still can't hear you guys.
Yeah, so us putting that on mute, it's not gonna work, right? Then she won't hear us.
Hi, Amber?
I know, I thought,
You there?
Yes, I'm gonna mute myself. Oh, no, if I mute
Yeah.
myself, you won't be able to hear. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes. I don't know what happened with the video. It just cut out all sound on my end.
That's okay.
She needs to mute herself.
So, please mute yourself because you're gonna be on my phone and otherwise we'll have feedback.
Okay.
And then the question's going to be, do you approve? So Julie's calling the vote for the approval of the agenda. Do you approve of the agenda?
Yes.
All right. Just stay on the
Yes.
phone. Yes. All right, now that the agenda is approved, we'll move on to item number 4, which is discussion. I believe we have Mr. Peter here to give us a construction update. And Amber, if you can't hear Mr. Peter, let me know.
Thank you, Mr. President. Unfortunately, I come tonight with some disheartening news. Over the past few weeks, we ordered our air handlers for the high school back in October, and we were told that they were supposed to be here in May. We've been told since May, and then again in June, and here in July. The latest we've been told is that they are scheduled to ship July 22nd. And they anticipate approximately about a 10-day of shipping time there, so we're hoping right now we still get them in early August. If they do come at that time, that should leave Feldkamp, the team that's putting stuff together, enough time to get the units installed. If they come any later than that, it will create problems. One of the solutions that's been presented is to put a temporary unit on the roof outside of the penthouse so that we can continue bringing fresh air into the building while we demo the units we're waiting for, at which time then we can begin fabricating and putting together the new units after they get here. That would probably be the best case scenario. I do want to add that we do have on site already air handlers 5 and 6 and what I'm starting to call 3B and 3C. We're still waiting on 3A. Air handler 3, which is now combined 3 pieces, basically handles the gym and the planetarium. Air handler 5 handles our school offices as well as the Center Point Clinic, but we're trying to find the best time to where we can take down the clinic air handler and bring that back up with giving them the least amount of disruption. Air handler 6 is on site and actually installed, but we're waiting for some other components, some piping and stuff like that until we can actually activate it. Air handler 6 handles the mini auditorium and the TV studio areas. The ones we're waiting for are 1 and 2, which basically handle all the hallway corridors and the classrooms. 3A, which again is part of that gym and planetarium setup, and air handler 4, which handles the cafeteria. So those are some big ones. 1 and 2 are the most important ones we're waiting on. But we do have a plan in place to take care of, to limp us through basically until they actually get here and we can get them assembled. We also are waiting on, with more shipping delays, roofing materials. We've been told that they believe it's a 60-day process to get the roof installed, and they're hoping those materials show up hopefully next week. This Sky Roofing, the company that's doing the work, has told us that they will double the crew in order to speed the process along once the materials arrive. So there again, we're hoping this is all finished and put together by the start of school. So with that said, I'm going to move along to Williams. Williams is a little behind schedule, which is kind of expected. We did, however, get the Plains Moving Company here starting yesterday, and they've started moving materials out of here at the middle school and got over to Williams Avenue. We're probably about halfway with the move process. We're hoping to finish that up by the end of the week. One of the hurdles we found there was at about 3 o'clock this afternoon, the elevator here in this building stopped working. So fortunately, they started at the top and started working their way down, so we have quite a bit of work to do tomorrow. We can work on just the ground floor and getting things straight into their trucks until we get the elevator fixed. I think that's all the news I have right now. Do we have any questions?
I do have a number of questions. Amber, did you hear the update from Mr. Peter?
Yes, I did, and it's very sad that we can't get these sooner, but I understand it's kind of happening everywhere.
Right. So I'm going to start with the high school.
Okay.
Right, so it's one of those things where you plan for the worst, you hope for the best. Right, so what is our communication going to be like? And this may be for you, Superintendent Ronan. I mean, because if these things aren't in place and we're limping through the start of the school year, I can just imagine the people coming in that's just going to be up in arms because.
Why weren't we told?
Right, so I think we just need to think about transparent communication with this process so that way nobody's surprised when they come in on the first day of school and the air system may not be what they expect it to be because we're in the middle of construction.
No, I agree. We do need to communicate that, and I was under the impression we might be able to leave the old air handlers to make sure this didn't happen.
That was one of the directions I was in favor of going to until I was at today's meeting. And I'm sorry, maybe I thought I mentioned this. I think maybe I skipped over it. At today's meeting, they suggested there's a possibility of bringing in a temporary unit to put outside the roof so that the demo of the existing units could take place, and that way we still have the airflow from the temporary unit. So that way we would still have the airflow that we need to continue. But yeah, then we would be able to continue working in the penthouse areas to get those air handlers switched out.
Okay. All right. And what's the timing on deciding whether or not we go with that option or not?
Well, we're waiting to hear from Feldkamp to decide. Basically, it's coming down to money. Which is the bigger suggestion? One other option was to wait until we get the new air handlers on site and then just wait and install them next summer and continue to use the existing air handlers we have right now. That was another option. So we're waiting to hear from them financially which is the best way to go and which is the best way to maintain the service for the school. And we're hoping to get that answer within the next few days or a week.
So we can get temporary units in place now
That was presented as an option.
as an option. And then when the units that we originally ordered that is delayed due to shipping or manufacturing, when they finally get here, we just set them off to the side, go through the school year, and have them switched out and installed next summer.
That's all an option, yes.
Okay, the other option would be to just wait until the new units come and then try to do a switch out.
When they get here,
they
potentially
get here.
sometime in late summer, early fall,
Right.
yes.
Right,
But still have airflow from those temporary units.
right. Okay,
Or I heard it was, we could do temporary and try to put in the new ones, or keep the old ones, new ones sit and wait till next year.
no, we're not keeping the old ones, right? We're gonna get temporary.
That was one of the options.
If that's Alice, I can't hear
Okay,
what she was asking.
That was one of the options, correct?
yeah, I'm gonna pass my phone over to Alice so she can.
Well, now I don't have much to say, but I was saying, I think he said, well, we could put in temporaries, or we could leave the old ones. We could try to put in the new ones if there's enough time, or we could wait till next summer and probably interchangeable two end products with two.
I think if we wait until next summer, it's best to leave the existing units in place.
That's the one I heard, yeah.
If we decide to use the,
Working, I say we just leave the existing units and deal with it next summer. If we think they can handle another season, let's get our money's worth out of the machines we already have.
I think there's other issues that I'm not just aware of just yet in doing that. So I think what they're saying is that affects a handful of other trades. Those other trades aren't able to get done what they need to be done if we push it off an entire another year. So I think there's a whole lot of things that need to be considered, and that's where we're waiting on John Feldkamp, the owner of Feldkamp Design, to come back and give us an answer. The best thing, though, is if these things show up when they're supposed to, then we're spending an awful lot of time talking about something that we don't even need to talk about and consider. So let's just hope they show up when they're supposed to show up, although we have to plan for the fact that they don't.
Right, and given the track record with some of this stuff, I think it's a conversation
highly
well worth
likely, huh?
having, right?
Right.
Um,
So I don't think we're here to make a decision tonight or even next week or something. I think we just need to be aware of some hurdles that are coming our direction. And people are making plans for whichever way things may happen.
Are you gonna tell us more at, our regular meeting, or?
If you would like me to, I can come back if there's more
If they tell
information
you
at that
something
point.
interesting, maybe.
That is
If
the
not, then don't worry about
21st.
it.
So
Yes.
they're anticipating the ship date of the 22nd, so I may not know the day before that ship date if they've shipped or not.
Okay,
But as long as they haven't come back to me and said, oh yeah, we know it's going to be even later, then I can bring that to your attention. But I may or may not know anything by then.
Are the temporary units in town?
I'm told they are. I'm told they are at the warehouse of Feldkamp's Construction.
okay. So my next question is regarding Williams. So I
Okay.
know we're currently in the moving process. When can the teachers, or do we know when the teachers will be able to get into those spaces?
We have to
start-
get a certificate of occupancy from the building department.
Right,
We are not at that point yet where we can even ask for them to assign that yet. There are a lot of life safety things that have to come into play first. I'm hoping it could be the first week in August. Again, that's kind of hopeful, but they are aware of when school starts, and I've made it clear that we've got a lot of waxing of floors that need to be done, and teachers need to get in to set up their rooms
right.
before the first day of school. And that was brought up at the Williams construction meeting this afternoon, and
Okay.
everybody was aware of that.
So, trying to figure out how to best phrase this question. So, we're hopeful for the first week of August to be able to get in?
I am hopeful.
Okay. All right. What's the limiting factor? What's the weak link in that?
I think they're still waiting on a above ceiling inspection on the ground floor of the school side. After that, I believe the fire department has to come through and do a testing of the fire system. The elevator did pass inspection Thursday, and we got the certificate yesterday morning, so we were able to use it for the move that started yesterday. There's still a considerable amount of painting and ceiling pads to be installed, and there's some flooring that even needs to be installed on the ground floor of the school side.
It's a lot in
It is
the
a
next
lot.
2 weeks.
It is a lot.
So the inspections can't even happen until the ceiling's installed and the flooring's installed, right?
Well, they can't install the ceiling until the above ceiling inspection has been done. That's why they leave the ceiling pads out.
Gotcha.
So the above ceiling inspection should take place in the next few days.
Okay. All right. How does that work? Is there like a specific date, or is it just guy says I'm gonna show up between Wednesday and Friday?
Fortunately, for the most part with inspectors, we're working with Norwood entities.
Okay.
And that's very helpful.
Yeah.
So Kramer Feldman is the company that's working at Williams Avenue. So when the electrician or whoever needs their inspection done just contacts as the site supervisor there with Kramer and Feldman, and they contact the inspector from either Norwood's Fire Department or Norwood's Building Department, and they're over generally within the next 24 hours, the next day or so, if
Okay.
not even that day. Norwood's very good about getting somebody on site quickly.
But they gotta get to the point where they're ready to call for the inspection?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. So what happens on Friday and they haven't called for the inspection? What's the backup plan there? Just to wait?
I'm not sure I understand. What?
So, we're hoping to get the inspection in the next few days.
Okay.
Right? What happens if that doesn't happen? Just pushes everything back?
It just pushes everything back a day or two.
All right. Well, hopefully we can get these inspections out of the way, get the ceiling panels up, so that way we give our staff time to get in there and put everything together, so.
And at this point, I think we need to hold off on the high school communication, because I'm not quite sure what to say
not
yet.
yet.
No, I
until we
agree.
know what's
I agree.
happening.
We gotta give, you'd say Feldkamp? Who's the air handler people?
It's Feldkamp, yes.
Feldkamp does the HVAC.
Yeah, so we gotta make sure that they exactly know
What's happening?
happening, so we have a list of options to review. All right. How's everything else going?
So what have you been doing?
Yeah.
Moving right along.
All right.
Summer's getting old already.
Does anybody else have any questions for Mr. Peter? No? Amber, do you have any other questions?
Not from Mr. Peter, but it did remind me for the beginning of school, do we have an idea of release date for back-to-school lists? I've been asked by a couple of parents. I'm not sure if we're still under that grant money.
I was thinking about
and
that
if
too.
so,
I'm gonna ask
When
later.
will that update go out for parents?
Oh, for
For, like,
avenues?
school supplies.
The school supply
The school
list, a lot of
supplies.
parents are asking us, when is it? And we're like, soon.
So last year, we didn't give out a school supply list because,
Correct.
We do have a list. We will have the principals send it out right away.
Oh, good.
We are buying some things, but there's some specialty items that every school wants that are separate from your basic paper and folders that the district was going to buy, so we will get that out. We can do that tomorrow. We do have it.
Ooh,
all right, Amber, did you hear that?
and
I did.
will it be on our
I had talked
website and
to
on our
Glenna
Facebook
about maybe
page?
I think that's a
posting- I know our
lovely
website
idea.
is still under
Email
construction,
or-
but we had
Website,
mentioned
yep,
maybe
Facebook
front
page,
Just make
Oh,
a
send
nice
an email.
blurb, with a link to those lists if possible.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
All right.
What did Amber
Even if
say?
it just says, your principal will be sending out on, Thursday or whatever the date is. Just something like that we can update on the website.
I agree.
We will do that. I see Glenn is here, Terry's here.
Yeah.
They're both back there. It looks
I
like
was-
they're discussing
I
it
know, they're
already.
They're not
How
gonna
we can
put up
do
with
this.
us keep
Got it,
saying
all right.
for very
And
much
Christina, you'll
longer.
send them the up-to-date list, right? Okay.
All right, well, that's all we have for Mr. Peter. Thank you for the
Okay.
update.
All right, thank you.
All right. Moving on to section 5 in our agenda is the Education Committee. And I'd like to turn the floor over to Board Member Ms. Ballard.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have 3 field trips. Actually, one of them was today for our Avenues for Success kiddos. Today they went to the BB Riverboats. On 7/26, they'll be taking a field trip to Columbus to go to COSI. And on 8/2, they have a trip planned to the Newport Aquarium. And those are the only 3 at this time. That concludes my report.
All right. Thank you.
Sounds super fun. Wish I was at Avenues for Success.
We'll move right on to section 6, Personnel Board Recommendations. And then this is a resolution to renew the contract with our superintendent. And then there is an attachment of the resolution that talks about what we're going to change and modify the superintendent's contract to. So in that document, you'll see that we are modifying the salary schedule. We're going to increase it by 2.5%. The other change that we're going to make to this is we're going to tie the length of the contract to the remaining amount of years of licensure remaining to the superintendent. So that a way, if the superintendent decides to extend her license, then we can make the decision whether or not we want to extend the contract to that length of that licensure again. So it just makes everything nice and clean. Is there any discussion on this resolution or any of the changes to the proposed contract for the superintendent?
Please extend your license for another 25 years.
Thank you. I don't know if I'll quite make that, Alice.
Amber, do you have any questions about the resolution?
No, we just love Mary, and I am so happy to be extending her contract for as long as she'll have us.
Well, thank you.
All right, so that'll be up for a vote next week. Moving on to section 7, personnel, and I'd like to turn the floor over to Superintendent Ronan.
Thank you, President Atwood. 7.01 are resignations, and we're so sorry that Monica Espanol, our ELL, one of our ELL teachers, is leaving us, along with Rachel Mullins. They are seeking employment elsewhere, but they will be greatly missed. Now, under employment, we have some great news. We have some new staff we'd like to announce. We have Amy Corwell. She's going to be our new high school Spanish teacher. She's coming to us from Moeller. We have Alexandra Haggerty, who's here in the audience. She is replacing Monica, so she's going to be an EL teacher in the district. So welcome. We're so delighted that you're here. Then next, at the next board meeting, Ashlyn Stevens, who we're hiring to teach math at grades 4 through 9. You might recognize her name. She was the 2018 valedictorian here at Norwood High School. She was the Lawhorn Scholarship recipient. She was on the dean's list at UC, and she's returning to teach math here in the Norwood City School District. So we are so happy, and she'll be here on the 21st for you to meet her. So that is wonderful. And then lastly, Allison Ross, she is coming to teach preschool at Norwood View. So we have added a second preschool to Norwood View due to demand. So we're delighted with that. Then so welcome to the district for all the new staff. Number 2, these are simply our staff members who are moving to a second year with the district. Item 3, they're moving to a third year. And number 4, that's personnel who will be moving on to continuing contract. Then number 5, those are our exempt employees, our classified contracts that are coming due. Then number 6, avenues for success. We're still hiring some folks for our summer program, which is up and running. Also, number 7, there were a few last-minute staffing folks we had to add for summer school. So we thank you for Melissa for stepping up and teaching summer school for us. Number 8, again, this is site staff for Avenues for Success. And also number 9, Laura Ferguson, who runs our Avenues for Success program. She is coming in to help get the program up and running. Then item number 10, this is the supplemental salary schedule. During negotiations, we did an MOU with the Norwood Teachers Association to readjust the coaching and club stipends. And we approved the MOU as part of negotiations. Then a joint team of administration and teachers got together, completed the assignment. So that is for your review and approval. At this, I've been told that NTA has approved it, so we're in agreement with what the new coaching and club stipends are going to be. So that's what that is. Number 11, we made some adjustments to the exempt and manager salary schedule. That has also been added in. And under number 12, pupil activity contracts, we don't have any because all of our coaches have been hired for fall sports. So we're ready to go there.
Fantastic.
And that concludes the personnel report.
Does anybody have any questions regarding any of the hires or the salary schedules, stipends?
I was just gonna say, I recognize some of our recent graduates in there, and so that's pretty exciting.
It's exciting when they come back and coach for us. It's great.
All right, with that, all that'll be on our agenda for approval next week. And with that, we'll move on to section 8 in our agenda. It's the policy committee, and I'd like to turn the floor over to Vice President Cole.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this month we have the second reading for 2 policies. First, we have ECA, which deals with building and ground security. So this one is the staff must follow safety policies in the school emergency operations plan, so ensuring that all of our exterior doors remain locked at all times. And then also KD, which is also BBDH, and this has to deal with public participation at board meetings. So we added a comment in there that the board is not able to comment on public participation topics or address each participant. So we just want to communicate this does not indicate a lack of concern or action on behalf of the board, and we will follow through with administration as needed. So those are our 2 policies.
All right, are there any questions or concerns about any of the policies that we're going to have for the second reading next week? No, we'll move on. Section 9 is the Building and Grounds Committee. There's nothing in that section for us to review this month. I apologize, Mrs. Rarica. So we'll move on
I
to
have nothing.
nothing. We'll move on to section 10 in our agenda. It's the Finance Committee. I'd like to turn the floor over to our treasurer, Mrs. Camphouse.
Thank you, Mr. President. The CFO report, monthly financials, and change order listings are attached for your review. And the
Cannot
CFO
hear
report-
Julie.
The CFO report, we are reviewing year-end fiscal data as of June 30th, including comparisons of year-over-year and year-end compared to forecasted. When comparing to last year, our current year total revenues were down by over $285,000. The drop in revenues were mostly due to falling state revenues, which were expected. Strong residential real estate taxes were mostly able to overcome both the shortage in state revenues and the falling commercial real estate taxes due to Board of Revision claims. When comparing total revenues to forecasted, we were very close to estimating. In fact, compared to the November forecast, total revenues were 0.06% over estimated. Compared to the May forecast, we were less than 0.5% over forecasted. When When comparing expenditures year over year, total costs were about 1.9 million less than the prior year, which is extraordinary, but was expected. We knew that ESSER grant funds would be absorbing a portion of our salaries and benefits. Also, we knew that the state of Ohio started paying for school choice instead of pushing those costs off on the school districts. While we can be somewhat certain that the state will continue to pay for school choice, we know that the ESSER grant funds will be expiring in 2 years. At that time, all salaries and benefits will come back to the general fund. I am happy to say that Norwood schools are monitoring and making changes so that the general fund can afford those staffing expenses when the time comes. When comparing our total expenditures to the forecast, we were also very close. Comparing actual to the November forecast, we spent less than 5/100th of a percent less than estimated. Comparing to May's forecast, we spent just over 1/4% more than estimated. My CFO report is available on our website for the public to view on our agenda. With closing fiscal data and estimates like these, it is easy to see the dedication of our school board and our administration to being true fiscal stewards of our taxpayers' hard-earned money. On the agenda, 10.02 is temporary appropriations, our budget for the current year, and that will be effective as of July 1st. 10.03, special education contracts. To meet IEP needs for qualified students, contracts are to Applied Behavior Services, Best Point Education, which used to be Children's Home, and Hamilton County ESC. 10.04, grants, federal and state grants for fiscal year 23. We will be approving the receipt of the grant, the creation of the new fund, and setting appropriations for the same. 10.05, professional dues for the superintendent and myself in the BASA and Alaska respectively. And finally, 10.06, in fact time of year again, will be appoint a delegate and an alternate for OSBA's Capital Conference. The OSBA annual meeting is November 12th through the 15th for all board members and administrators. Next week, we will need to appoint both a delegate and an alternate for the conference. Registration is July 25th this year, so we will be appointed in July rather than August.
Okay.
That concludes my report.
All right, are there any questions or concerns about the finance report? Amber, do you have any questions? Okay.
She did a really great job last year. They really congratulated her on doing so well in there and started seeking her out to do things for OSBA. It was really neat.
Okay. All right, with that, that's the last item on our agenda for tonight. Does anybody have anything else that needs to be brought up before we adjourn?
The only thing I was thinking of was the school list, and so those will be out
We'll get those
10
out.
days.
So school lists?
Mhm. We'll get those out tomorrow, the next day, as soon as possible.
Okay. All right, with no other things on our agenda, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Amber.
Thank you, Brandon.
Oh, you're welcome. All right, we're adjourned.
Okay, now Mary needs to tell us about Hawaii.